Forest, and this is City Talk. The urban forest in the city of Des Moines is one of our community's most valuable assets. The tree-lined streets, our beautiful parks and green spaces are an important part of what makes Des Moines an award-winning community. In today's show, we'll talk with some of the people who are dedicated to maintaining and growing our urban forests. My first guest is Trees Forever, Leslie Burkus.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you very much. I hope I got your name right.
You did, you said exactly right.
Well, let's start by telling our audience a little bit about Trees Forever.
Yeah, so actually Trees Forever is a statewide nonprofit with the mission of planting and caring for trees through working with volunteers and communities to get them involved in hands-on projects so that they are really engaged with their community, they're engaged with the trees and the green space around them, and they sustain those for longer because they have that personal connection to the trees around them.
Okay. How long has Trees Forever been around?
This is really exciting. It's actually our 25th anniversary this year. Shannon Ramsey founded the organization in 1989 as a volunteer. She was concerned about the loss of trees and woodlands around the state and in our communities and wanted to make sure she was doing something about that. So she founded the organization and is actually still the executive director. And this year, in our 25th anniversary, we're conducting 25 events to highlight all of the work that Trees Forever does around the state and especially in the metro.
That's very impressive. Tell me something. Is the focus then on trees on public land or private land? Because those are kind of two different categories.
Yeah, I'd say both. Trees Forever is able to offer grant funding to public areas and communities so they can plant trees along their streets, in their parks, around their schools, and public spaces such as that where everyone's enjoying the benefits. But we also work with homeowners. Here in the metro, if a homeowner had a question, they could certainly give me a call and I can help answer any tree issues and questions they have, direct them to resources, maybe through the DNR or Iowa State University, connect them with arborists in the community, and just get that education they need to make sure that their trees are well maintained on their property.
Well, that's a very important resource for all of us property owners to have. You do programs, so tell us a little bit about what kind of programs you present. Are they free?
Yeah.
Are they open to anyone who wants to attend? Just give us a little information about that.
Well, Trees Forever, since it's a statewide nonprofit, we do a lot of events around the state, all with the focus of trying to promote the benefits that trees provide to us. So water quality, air quality, trees increase our property values. We want people to know how important trees are to us. So we're offering many events, many conferences, regional trainings, that type of thing.
Where do you go to get the information? I know they have events all year long, so is there a website if I just decide, you know, there are a lot of tree issues, the emerald ash borer, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So if people become concerned, you have a website to get information?
People can visit us at treesforever.org to find out more information about the events that we offer.
I want to ask about a program that I've heard a lot about called Tree Keeper Program.
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers what that program is?
This is such an exciting thing that we've been doing. It's been 2 years now. I worked really closely with the city arborist, David Yawn, and Public Works Department, and they've been such a great partner through this whole thing. To date, we have over 80 volunteers trained as tree keepers. And the goal of our Tree Keepers program is to train volunteers to be able to take care of the trees in their backyard, the neighborhood, and the entire community, and being those eyes and ears, literally being the Lorax, so that they can speak for the trees in our community. You mentioned urban forest earlier and when you opened, and people don't think about it, but we live in a forest. It's an urban forest. So we have the trees along our streets and in our parks, and that makes up our urban forest. We get so many benefits from that. They reduce stormwater, do the air quality benefits that we need, and if we don't have someone out there talking for them, taking care of them, maintaining them, we won't get those benefits that we need from our trees. So through the Tree Keepers program, we train volunteers. It's a 3-day course, 9 hours total, where volunteers come and they get hands-on training, classroom training to learn about tree ID, tree biology, how to properly plant a tree, how to maintain that tree. So they know that for themselves and the tree in their backyard, but then we invite them out to community events as well.
One of the things in your literature says that you're an advocate for trees, and you know, trees are nonverbal.
Yes, yep.
They don't vote. So tell us a little bit about how do you manage this role of an advocate for trees.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Our trees, they can't speak for themselves, so they need somebody to speak for them. So Trees Forever is here to do that by attending events and making sure that people know the benefits, but also training those tree keepers, because we see those tree keepers as advocates. And to me, advocate means a number of different things. So if your neighbor's grumbling about raking leaves in the fall, well, how about you tell them about the amazing energy efficiency benefits they got from the shade all year? 3 well-placed trees on your property can save you $100 to $250 on your utility bills every year. So sure, raking leaves isn't the best thing to do in the fall, but you got a lot of benefits from those all year long. But we also, if people feel comfortable, we want them to feel like they can advocate for trees to the mayor and to the city council. Des Moines is really fortunate. We've got a great mayor and a great city council who cares for our trees, and they're here for us, but they still want to hear from their residents that they think trees are important as well.
Okay, that's a very good point. We are very concerned. There are a lot of things that involved planting. Most people think about it at Arbor Day when there's always news about planting trees, but our Public Works Department has a program where people request street trees. So every year those young trees go out. Do you all play any role with those young street trees that we're planting across the city?
So tree keepers, that's one of their main goals, is going out to care for those young trees and doing the pruning on them when they're young, because that's the key time that we want to be taking care of trees, when they're young, because then we hopefully avoid long-term problems with it has weak branch attachment, or the tree fails for some reason in the long run. Well, that might happen, but if we took care of it when it was young, we help alleviate some of those problems. So tree keepers are out there taking care of them when they're young to get those long-range benefits.
Well, okay, what do you do, and I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but of course there are lots of trees on my street. And I've always been curious, what is a certain time of year that you prune those trees? Because one neighbor said, oh, this tree is in the way, I'm going to go cut it. I don't know if that's the right time. Do you help people make those kind of determinations?
Yep. We can certainly talk to them about that. If it's a street tree, if there's some large issue, they should probably contact the city to make sure there's not some issue that the city needs to know about. But on their property, the best time to prune trees is in the winter time when they're dormant. Okay. You really want to avoid pruning trees when they're entering into the spring or dropping their leaves in the fall. But winter is the best time, and that's especially true with oak trees. That's almost a must because we are facing a lot of disease issues with our oak trees. So if we prune them in the dormant season, in the winter time, then that decreases the sap that the trees put out, and there's an insect that actually is attracted to that sap, and they're not around in the wintertime. So it's a must to prune in the wintertime for oaks.
Well, you are just full of eye-opening information on trees. Yeah. That's very informative. I just have one more question, and that's basically for how we can contact Trees Forever and the kinds of information people can obtain. But is there any other point before we close this interview you want to share with our viewers?
I just think I've talked so much about the benefits of trees, and I think it's so important that people know those, have a few stats in their back pocket. So again, if their neighbor's grumbling about it, or maybe if they're on the elevator with their city council member, they can rattle off those facts so that they know how important trees are to us. And make sure that we're getting out there and speaking for those trees.
Why don't you give us just 3 of those facts quickly that everybody could easily remember about trees?
I think it's really important for homeowners to remember that their trees around their house are shading it in the summertime and lowering their utility bills. They also act as a windbreak in the wintertime, redirecting winter winds around their house. For a city as a whole, those trees are retaining stormwater, so taking it up into the tree and helping decrease stormwater runoff. And of course, air quality. A lot of people think about that trees literally are providing the oxygen we breathe. So we really need those around for us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being my guest today. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 2 more very informed people who are going to share their knowledge about trees in our community. Stay with us.
Your fairy godmother?
It doesn't take a fairy godmother to tell you that the right fit means everything. especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
Oh, that does make a difference.
Remember, their happily ever afters are in your hands. To find out more, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again now.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
About trees. So welcome back to City Talk. In this segment, we're going to talk to C.J. Stevens with Tree Des Moines. Thank you for being our guest.
Well, thank you for inviting us. It's our pleasure.
Tell us first, what is Tree Des Moines and what do they do?
Tree Des Moines is a volunteer organization, a nonprofit, which is totally focused on the city of Des Moines and the metro area. Our goal is to support the city to enhance and protect the urban tree canopy that we have. We have been losing a majority of this canopy, and it is under a great deal of stress in the past few years and going forward.
Tell us a little bit about your work in, what do you do in terms of hands-on to help preserve the urban forest?
Our mission includes education, and also we're partnering with the city to raise the funds necessary to create an active data tree inventory, because we believe that the forest can be better managed, and in order for the city to do that on limited funds, the board of Tree Des Moines decided that we would like to step up, partner with them, and help to raise these funds to have an inventory that would be ongoing and active data that the forestry division could use to manage the tree canopy.
I got to tell you, tree inventory, Des Moines has so many trees. How long would it take to inventory? I mean, we have a beautiful urban forest. It's very lush and it's huge, isn't it?
Well, we can say that it is lush, and it has been lush, but we know that it will not remain that way throughout the years. Okay. It's really time to reset the clock on the urban forest. And yes, it is a major project, but there are companies who professionally do this. They match their data programs with the programs that the cities have. And we're not the first to do this. Other major cities have taken on this chore, and very successfully the cities have embraced it.
Well, obviously there are a lot of benefits to the community for trees. How would you describe the benefits of your organization for Des Moines?
The organization supports all other organizations that take the same interest in the trees in the city and the tree canopy and the green infrastructure. Our goal is to support the capital city itself, because we did not see a focus on the capital city and the metro area. And we thought that was very important, that we be the leaders, that we show smaller communities how to do it, and to also enhance everything else that we have so positive that's going on in the city.
Do you have programs that are an outreach to either public schools or to property owners? What kind of outreach do you have?
We absolutely do. We incorporated in 2012, and immediately we had a community forestry workshop, which was very well attended. We followed that with Out on a Limb, which was an information and fundraising event that was very successful. And we followed that. We were very privileged to have been chosen to be a nonprofit that could be represented at the Arts Festival, where we reached another 1,000 or so people. And that was in conjunction with the Des Moines Woodturners. And we also very successfully last fall launched The Tree Doctors Are In series, where we invited the community to bring their samples, come get some information, and just talk about trees, how we can support the community and get the education that they need. We also have another series coming up on that we're working on right now.
Are you a resource for information for property owners that are concerned about the emerald ash borer? And we're going to learn more when we talk to the city municipal arborist, but does that fall into a category that you all address as well?
Absolutely. That's going to significantly impact the city as well as neighborhoods. I believe it's estimated that there's 120,000 ash trees on private property spread over 80,000 homeowners. And so that's significant. And so we try to help them address that issue, give them tips on how to select a tree service, a legitimate tree service, give them advice on if they have a tree that they would like to save, that they can use chemicals to do that, knowing how long each chemical acts, how it affects the environment. And we definitely are doing that. We also take questions on our website, and we're supported by several people who are certified arborists, board certified. David Yon, as a matter of fact, is one of our technical advisors. And we try to answer questions for homeowners in that respect and try to lead them in the right direction to get information that's very useful to them.
Okay. Are there things, easy to remember, simple things that homeowners or even young people could do to help contribute to a healthy urban forest for the city?
Well, one of the things I think they can do, and that is happening, is that the teachers in our public schools are doing a terrific job of educating the children, and I think we could encourage the children to educate their parents. So we're finding that they have a lot of questions, and we're there to support them. And typically we found out that people in the tree industry who've been in the industry for quite some time talk in big language, big words, and we try with our speakers and when we interact with the community and homeowners that we talk to their level, and we begin with the basics, because we've been working with trees for quite some time now, and we know that trees are not there just for the beauty. That's wonderful, but we now know through research that there are so many other benefits that we need to alert them to, and when they can do additions or new construction, how to protect the trees, and that's all part of our efforts.
That's wonderful. What's next for your organization? Do you have future plans for events that the public should know about?
We have a website which constantly tells about our upcoming events, and you can, that is treedesmoines.com, and you can also go there to become a friend of Tree Des Moines. We always encourage people to support us, and we right now are in the process. Our major focus is raising $400,000 to support the tree inventory. And we have an ongoing cooperative research that David Yon has helped us with, that we started a bare root planting project 2 years ago, and we are reaping the rewards of that now because we had huge success of it in our planting in the spring, and we are really looking forward to seeing, we planted again last fall, and we're looking forward to seeing how this harsh winter has affected those fall plantings.
Tell me what you planted and where you planted.
We planted in right-of-ways, public right-of-ways, and diversification is very important, that we, in most of our neighborhoods, one species is dominant, or invasive species are now becoming very dominant. So we try to diversify with Kentucky coffee, linden trees, maple trees, and we still sprinkle some oaks in there, even though they're being affected by burrow blight and oak wilt. So diversification is really important, and that's part of our mission too.
Okay. Well, you have provided us with a wealth of information. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share with our audience, perhaps a question I did not ask?
I would just like to encourage the citizens of Des Moines and the metro area to visit our website, send us your questions, look for our public forums where we can help you with your tree questions and help you too to work to protect the tree canopy and the environment in our city.
And would you give us a web address just one more time?
Our web address is treedesmoines.com.
Well, CJ, thank you very much for sharing your wealth of knowledge on the urban forest with us.
Thank you.
I'm sure our audience will greatly appreciate that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Severe weather can destroy a home in seconds. There's no time to think, only time to act. Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes. And stay informed during severe weather any way you can. It can be the difference between losing your possessions and losing your life. Just ask the owners of this house. Visit weather.com/ready and let the Weather Channel help you prepare your family for emergencies.
Can you concern with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now.
No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite, unearth hidden passion. Come on, we'll have a good time.
Bring seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic.
To change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall.
And make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first little thing that helps to change a life.
People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Welcome back. My guest is David Yan. He is the municipal arborist for the city of Des Moines. Welcome to City Talk.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to start by you telling our audience a little bit about the Forestry Division, which is in Public Works. What exactly does that staff do?
Certainly. Our Forestry Division is composed primarily of tree trimmers, and these tree trimmers look after all the special needs of our trees in the city. So that certainly means that they prune off broken or dying branches. Sometimes it means that at end of life the tree has to come down, or if for some other reason the tree becomes a hazard, then they also are involved in removing those trees. We support other divisions within our city. For instance, we support our Streets Division when they have to pave a street, and when they lift up their tall dump trucks or other equipment, we have to elevate those canopies so they don't become damaged.
Okay.
And then lastly, we receive requests from the public concerning the trees in front of their properties, and we respond to those.
That's very good, because I've made a call and got my street tree trimmed, so that's a wonderful service. Do these jobs that you have in the Forestry Division, do they require any special training or background?
It's a great question. A number of years ago, we made the commitment to hire, going forward, to hire only tree trimmers that were certified arborists. And to get that credential, you have to have 3 years of progressive tree care experience, and then you have to study for and write an exam to become that certified arborist. So that's our chief credential. As well, we also expect that they know how to climb a tree safely using ropes only. Most of our work is done from an aerial bucket truck, but we insist that they know how to climb a tree in case they have to perform an aerial rescue from the bucket, or in a park setting, sometimes we actually do climb trees. So those are kind of the key requirements. And then going forward from that, we provide for them annual training to keep that arborist certification current.
That's very interesting. Most people are probably listening to this not knowing or hearing this for the first time, and I think that's very interesting that we have that. I'd like to ask a little bit about your position. You're the municipal arborist. What are your responsibilities?
All right. Well, as municipal arborist, I certainly get involved with plan and development. So if somebody's wanting to put in a subdivision or do some building renovation, those plans go through the community development part of our city, and those plans come across my desk to make sure that they have an adequate number of trees, make sure they've got species diversity. And so plan review is one of the things I do. I also initiate tree planting projects every spring and fall. I assist neighborhoods in the development of tree committees and help them engage in volunteer projects. I also assist in writing tree and landscape policies and ordinances. And further to that, not the least of which, I'm a liaison with two of our special local nonprofits. One of those is Tree Des Moines, and one of those is Trees Forever. And together we're making beautiful tree music in the city as we partner to make the best of our resources.
You know, I have to say it's wonderful that we have those two groups.
It certainly is.
Because we have a large urban forest, and we have a great staff, but it is always good to have some extra help.
And we've got it. They're very professional. Both organizations are wonderful to work with.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about educating the community. The emerald ash borer, we've heard a lot about, but I'd like you to kind of, for the first time, reveal for our audience what this insect is and what kind of education we're doing in the community.
Right. And maybe as a prelude to that, I'll just talk about the importance of trees in the urban forest. Trees do a lot of good for our community. They increase property values. They help to retain stormwater so we don't have all the water going directly into creeks and rivers and kind of becoming a wasted item. They cut down on the amount of electricity, air conditioning and heating costs for individual homes and offices, and they certainly add to the air quality. So anything that's going to impact our urban forest is a really big deal, and so that's why emerald ash borer is taking some news these days. So Amelia, you've asked the question, what is it? Well, it's a pesky little critter. It's an insect that came from Asia. In the year 2002 is when it was discovered in the Detroit and Windsor area in mid-America. And we suspect it came in on wooden pallets that were part of shipping containers from Asia. And the federal government has since reviewed that, and now you must ship on either preheated pallets or plastic pallets, but they've tried to cut down on the incidence of yet more insects coming into our country. We've had some large examples of damage within our country. We have photos that maybe pop up on the screen for our viewers that show an ash tree-lined street in a city in Ohio. And 3 years later, all those trees are standing dead trees instead of green.
Oh my goodness.
So this is the impact it's going to have on any untreated trees, yes, in our neighborhoods. We do suspect it's here already, certainly in Iowa. The viewers will see a map that shows that our entire state is now quarantined. That means you can't take firewood out of a quarantine zone. So if somebody wants to go to Omaha to a campground, they should purchase their wood there and burn it there. We have the entire state under quarantine, as I say. And so let me tell you a little bit next about the life cycle of the emerald ash borer.
Okay.
This little insect, I've got a little penny here, and the adult of the insect would fit entirely on a Lincoln penny. It's only about 1/2 inch long, and it's emerald green in color. But that's not the worst part of this little rascal. This little rascal lays eggs on the bark of an ash tree. Those eggs, once they hatch, the larvae burrows underneath the bark, and I've got a little bit of a tree sample here. Yep. And so the egg, the larvae burrows under the bark, and starts running back and forth in a serpentine pattern as it makes its way and as it grows to be a larger larvae before it hatches and comes out of the bark again. And that serpentine pattern is what kills the tree because it disrupts the flow of nutrients and water from the base to the top of the tree.
So it burrows in and then it's going back and forth. Is it eating the wood?
Yes, it's not eating a whole lot of wood. It's kind of living in that moist part of the tree right underneath the bark. So it's eating some and growing a lot, and that's what disrupts the nutrients.
Now you have that wonderful graphic of the insect on a penny. So is that as big as it's going to get?
That's as big as the adult gets. Interestingly, the larvae underneath the bark is 1.25 inches long, and so it can do a major amount of disruption under the bark.
So if a homeowner went out to look at a tree, are there telltale signs that they would say, yes, this looks like my tree is infected?
Well, that's a great question. Maybe as a prelude to that, I'll explain to our viewers how they might tell if they have an ash tree to begin with.
Okay.
And these photos, I think, will show up for our viewers on the screen. And so the first thing they'll notice is that from a distance, you can see a diamond pattern on the bark of an ash tree. That's one of the telltale signs that you have an ash tree.
Okay.
Another telltale sign is that all ash trees have opposite branching. That means one branch directly across from the other. Further to that, the leaves themselves are opposite from each other, and the picture the viewer is seeing now is not multiple leaves, but a single leaf made up of 5 to 11 leaflets.
Yes.
So this is a telltale sign that you have an ash tree on board.
Wow.
So you've asked the question, how might they know if they have emerald ash borer? A couple of the signs are, so you've got this little critter under the bark.
Yes.
He's making a little bit of noise under there, and there's a little red-headed bird comes by called a woodpecker.
Yes.
And he starts flecking the bark off the tree, and those fleck marks make a mottled appearance on the bark, and that's how you know if your tree might have some insect under it, which may or may not be an emerald ash borer. Another telltale sign is that high up in the canopy, you'll start losing leaves and branches. They'll start to yellow and branches begin to die. And that's a telltale sign that you may have emerald ash borer.
Just from this little thing being under... Wow.
That little rascal underneath the bark is so disruptive and cutting off all the food supply from the roots that within 3 years, that's kind of a magic number. Once it's discovered in a tree, in about 3 years, that tree could be dead and kind of a standing hazard.
Okay, can I ask you to pick up the bark? This is such a good show and tell. When you, I see you have this highlighted here. Is that the diamond pattern?
Yeah, I've tried to highlight a portion of the bark that shows a diamond pattern.
Okay.
And the picture that the viewers would see has multiple diamond patterns on it. It's a little bit tricky when you're not used to looking at it, but when you start thinking about it, you really do see that diamond pattern in the bark.
And what's on the flip side? Anything that we should know or see?
No, this is just what ash wood looks like. It is a hardwood. It's the wood for making baseball bats in America. The Louisville Slugger is made strictly out of ash trees. So we're not sure what they'll do for bats, for wooden bats, once the insect takes all our trees.
Okay. How many public trees or trees on public land, so we're talking about parks, green spaces, neighborhood street trees, how many of these trees do you think will be impacted by the emerald ash borer?
We think we have 47,000 ash trees on public land in the city. 6,000 of those trees are street trees. So that's on what we call the parking in front of residences and in front of businesses. We have another 1,000 trees on the mowed areas of parks. That has implications next to trails, playgrounds, and park structures. And then there's a further 6,000 within parkland that's kind of on the periphery of the forest areas that might fall on streets or trails again. So those 13,000 trees we're going to have to manage proactively, and the other 34,000 trees within the body of city parks, they're going to be left to stand and die and fall on their own. That's consistent with what other communities have done who are farther east of us who have faced this problem before.
What should a property owner do if they suspect they have an infected ash tree?
We have done our own estimation. We think there are an estimated 120,000 ash trees on private property. So that's a lot. So if we have 60 to 80,000 residences, some people have 2 to 3 or maybe more trees. Some have none, obviously. But some people are going to have to manage this problem because before it becomes a hazard for them. Mm-hmm. So you've asked what they can do. The number one recommendation we have is if you suspect you have emerald ash borer, is call a certified arborist. So you can find those people on their website, the International Society of Arboriculture. We have a number of local arborists who are registered as certified arborists. They will come, they will identify that you do in fact have an ash tree. Mm-hmm. They can identify whether you do in fact have emerald ash borer, and then they can outline the strategies for you. And there are more than one strategy. You don't simply have to take the tree down. There are some effective treatments that can be used to save trees if they're in good structure and health.
Well, then the natural follow-up to that is, what is the City of Des Moines doing to address this problem?
Right, so City of Des Moines is going to be spending about $9.4 million over the next 11 years, and our strategy is to treat 5,800 of our ash trees on streets and in park moat areas, and another 7,200 we're going to fell or actually remove from some of the peripheral forest lands. So we do have a strategy moving forward to save as many of the good trees as we can and look after hazards otherwise.
Tell me this, I mean, if this bug, insect, is transferred through firewood, which is dead, how is the infected tree in my neighborhood, for example, can it spread to other trees in my neighborhood?
Well,
if I don't take some action?
So this little adult beetle that fit on the size of a penny, it's true that he can fly to other trees in the neighborhood, and he only goes maybe up to 2 miles per year if he caught a wind and got to some other community. But the predominant way to spread emerald ash borer is people just moving firewood, and let's say they harvest a tree in their yard, move it to somebody else's yard or property, and that's the way the bug spreads.
Okay. Has the bug been found in neighboring communities around our metro area?
Right. I mentioned that the entire state of Iowa is now quarantined. It was originally found a couple of years ago up in the northeast part of our state on an island, Alamaki Island. It's an island between the northeast part of Iowa and the state of Wisconsin. And then more recently, in 2013, we got 3 hits in a row down in southeast Iowa, including in Fairfield and Burlington. So that was close enough to home, but then last November, we got another hit southwest of us in the city of Creston. Oh. And so we're kind of being virtually surrounded as we come back to the point, we think it's already here, just hasn't been discovered yet.
Okay. Well then, this next question is what everybody wants to know. Where can the public get more information on the emerald ash borer insect, treatments? How do we fight back with this pest?
Well, there's a lot of great sites on the internet. We'd like to invite people to go, first of all, to dmgov.org. That's our city website. You can get onto our Forestry Division web page, or simply look up emerald ash borer on dmgov.org. And on that site, we have a lot of links to a lot of other important sites like Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources, the Iowa State University, and there's a national site called emeraldashborer.org. So if you'll go on to dmgov.org first, you can get to all these places and find out some really good information about how to identify ash trees, how to know if you have the pest, and what your management options are.
Okay. When they go to the city website, Are they going first to Public Works, or have we put something there on the homepage to help them out?
We've updated our website, so
Okay.
right on the homepage for the entire city, on the left column, you can find Emerald Ash Borer
Wonderful.
and get you
That's
right to the
good,
stuff.
'cause I like it when people can go there and find exactly what they're looking for. Well, David, thank you very much. This program has just been an eye-opener for what damage this little pest is causing to our forests.
And, you know, as bad as that sounds, I'd like to encourage our people to take heart. I mean, it's our opportunity now to replace some of the ash trees with a diversified species of urban canopy. It's also time to get involved and maybe get out and do some advocating with your neighbors and just talk up trees and let everybody know how important they are to all of us.
Okay. And we have tree plantings usually in spring and summer, so that's the time to pick a different type of tree to put out.
Indeed.
I want to close on a positive note because you all do a wonderful job along with the volunteers who help us, and that is that Des Moines has always been a Tree City USA award winner, which means we have a very good urban forest. We've had one for a number of years, and we take very good care of our trees, as our plan indicates. So that wraps up our show for today. Thank you so much for sharing this information. We hope you will join us here again on DMTV on City Talk. I'm Amelia Hamilton Morris. Thank you for watching.